The race for the White House appears to be tightening ahead of the conventions, with some new polls showing Donald Trump closing the gap with Hillary Clinton. Nationally, Trump has pulled even with Clinton in the new CBS New York Times poll after trailing her by 6 points a month ago. And the latest Real Clear Politics poll average shows a close race in the critical swing states of Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Florida. Wall Street Journal columnist and Fox News contributor Karl Rove joins us with more. So, Karl, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Paul.
Donald Trump said today this was a unity pick. That's what he was looking for. Do you think that was his motivation, and is it going to unify the party?
Well, I think it will help consolidate the party. Pence gives some reassurance to economic and social conservatives. I think it was a solid and durable choice. Pence is a good man. I got to know him when I was at the White House under President Bush. Didn't agree with us all the time, but he was a straight shooter, thoughtful demeanor, an excellent communicator. And I thought it was interesting. He was almost a universal choice to enter the leadership in 2006, and it was in part because in a very short period of time, 3 terms, he had gained the confidence and trust of so many of his colleagues and their admiration and friendship. So he's a solid guy, and I think it is a good move by Trump.
But this was when he was in the House, and he gave you guys some heartburn sometimes. I know he voted against the Medicare Part D expansion, so that probably, and that was a close vote, so that must have been some heartburn for you.
Well, but you know what? He was straight up right at the beginning. He made a principled statement of opposition to it. I disagreed with it. I wouldn't call it an expansion. What I'd call it is a Medicare reform, because this is the first instance in which we've used, in essence, a voucher program, if you will, premium support in a social program of the government. And,
I know you and I argued about that at the time, way back when. We don't need to relitigate this. We're talking about Mike Pence. But I want to ask you about particularly when you're looking at a VP choice who disagrees on some big issues with the gentleman at the top of the ticket, the presidential candidate. How do you, and Pence does on trade, and he has in the past on immigration, even on foreign policy with Donald Trump. Pence is a very robust American presence in the world supporter. What do you, what advice do you give the campaign to have those differences not bother you for the next 4 months?
Well, my sense is, look, Pence is a practical politician, so he's not going to go out of his way to emphasize his differences. And frankly, the fact that he's on the ticket and that he has the views that you expressed give me a little bit of confidence that Trump is open to new ideas and to framing and strengthening his opinion. I took this as a sign that, look, Trump is not a consistent ideologue. This is not a guy who got up and read, Hayek and, studied von Mises.
Unlike you and I.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that he would pick somebody that he thinks he has good personal chemistry with, whom he believes will help unite the party, means that if he gets elected, he will have in his councils, probably having lunch with him once a week privately, as most modern presidents have done with their vice presidents, somebody who is a consistent, principled conservative. And I think that's reassuring to the Republican base. Remember, look, Trump's problem, if you look at ABC, Washington Post, and NBC, Wall Street Journal, and Fox, one of the problems he's got, in Fox, he was at 74% of Republicans. In NBC, Washington Post, he was at 77% of Republicans. He needs to be above 90%. Now, the vice president doesn't make a big impact upon the nationwide vote, but the vice president can help in the consolidation directly help in the consolidation of the party faithful behind the ticket.
All right. Where do you think the race stands right now? Is it really tied, as the New York Times poll said?
Well, I'd say this. I'd say if you take all these polls and average them together, either in the Real Clear Politics average or the Huffington Post average, you'll see the similar pattern. And that is, in late June, Hillary Clinton peaked and began to move down. The movement that we've had in these polls, both the national polls and in the state polls, is primarily Clinton moving down, not Trump moving up. Take a look at these 4 polls.
Yeah, that's the way I see it, too.
Yeah, these are 4 states that came out this week. Florida, Quinnipiac, 42 Trump, 39 Clinton, 37 Trump, 44 and Marist. But if you look at it, in each one of these polls, down 8 for Clinton. down 5 since the last time Marist was in the field about 5 weeks ago. In Ohio, in Quinnipiac, Clinton was down 1, but in Marist, she was down 9 from about 6 weeks ago. So same in the others, and in the nationally you have the same sort of pattern. The second thing I'd point out, Paul, is the large number of undecideds. Take a look at CBS New York Times, 40-40. 20% undecideds. I looked at all of the polls run in July of 2012, and the average undecided was 8.5%. Earlier this week, it was 16%, and with the latest round of polls, is close to 17% undecideds. That's a pretty we haven't seen that in close to since 1992.
So this race is winnable by Donald Trump, but he's got to improve his positives. He's got to make people feel more comfortable with him in the Oval Office. Does that mean he has to devote this convention, and we only have a little time here, Karl, does he have to devote this convention to improving his image?
Yeah, absolutely. But he's got two things to do. He's got to find the right mix in advocating an optimistic and positive agenda that causes people to say, I'm part of what he sees in the future of America, at the same time keeping the pressure on Hillary. He missed a big opportunity, in my view, the week before last. In his first appearance after Comey lacerated Hillary Clinton, he gave a speech basically devoted to defending himself on the Star of David in a tweet, and not a good use of his time.
All right, Karl, we'll be watching. Thanks for being here.